Moving forward, do tell me the proposal being forwarded to the banks as of right now, because you keep talking about restructuring and having a plan. It speaks of short-term debt being converted into long-term debt. So we're talking about 8 billion rupees of fresh equity to be injected. 40% will come from Vitol. Is that true?
Look, I'm not going to go into all the details of the numbers because that would be to make an announcement before telling the Pakistan Stock Exchange, and that would be improper. What I think I can properly do at the moment is indicate what I did say at the annual general meeting last week, which is that we are in advanced discussions with the banks for trying to restructure and refinance the heavy burden of debt which has accumulated over the last few years and which is making it very difficult for the company to operate on a profitable basis. Now, what we therefore hope to do is to convert short-term expensive debt into longer-term, more affordable debt and inject a little bit more equity into the company. Now, the basis on which that will be done will be announced in the proper way in due course. But I just think it's important as a board, particularly at the AGM, to inform shareholders that our hopes are that we will be able to do this over the next few weeks. And we are strenuously working to keep the company going amidst very tight sort of liquidity constraints in the hope that we can turn the corner. I mean, I'd put it this way. When I became chairman, the company was pretty well at risk of collapsing. I think it has been in intensive care. It's now, as it were, to keep the hospital analogy going, in the recovery room, but it's not yet fully healthy and able to operate easily on its own. That is what we're trying to achieve by doing the restructuring that we're negotiating at the moment. So I very much hope that the company will be able to conclude a refinancing with the banks, and that as we go into next year, the company can once again trade on a profitable and sustainable basis. That's what we're trying to do. A few months ago, it did not look possible. Now I think
fair enough. But Sir Alan Duncan, shouldn't Vitol give a guarantee or an underwriting as the largest shareholder of HESCOL, and a major reason why, frankly speaking, the company has suffered such losses, to step up and take more responsibility? That if HESCOL doesn't meet its goals and the targets which you're conveying to the banks, then Vitol will be responsible. Unfortunately, no sign of losses at HESCOL seem to be abating when you see the current statement. I mean, I was reading the current statement in front of me. The equity of the company has once again been completely eroded. So the company has been mismanaged to such an extent that it has posted a cumulative loss of 65 billion in the last 3 years. So that at an average, that means at an average of 150 rupees, Pakistani rupees to a dollar, this implies a colossal loss of $430 million. The total amount owed to the banks is almost 60 billion rupees. Essentially, that means you'll have to make a 5 billion rupee net profit every year. What exactly is the business plan?
Well, if you look at the scale of the losses, they're about the same as the very high penalty interest rates we've been paying to the banks, and we want to bring those to an end. In terms of Vitol, they've always fully upheld their obligations as a shareholder. They have themselves lost a lot of money, and I'm absolutely sure that they will properly fulfill their obligations as a shareholder in the future. They are a shareholder like any other.
So, and we hope for that too, sir, because, I mean, there are people in the management who we just spoke about. They were allowed to indulge in conflict of interest situations, indulging in long-term fixed contracts, and people in your management were completely aware of that, allegedly. So the banks, in my view, in Pakistan already made a mistake by not taking a letter of comfort from Vitol before extending more facilities in 2020. So the only lifeline for HESCOL right now, as we speak, are the Pakistani banks, which you're reaching out to. That's why they want all the banks to restructure their debt and also do debt to equity swaps. So that essentially means that they want banks to become shareholders in HESCOL, and if that happens, that means the Pakistani taxpayer the ordinary Pakistani, he'll be asked to bail out Hascall because National Bank of Pakistan or Bank of Punjab will become large shareholders of Hascall. Don't you think in such a situation, Vitol should put more money in the company, more working capital to turn things around? It's just a proposal. I mean, end of the day, if the ordinary Pakistani has to pay and Vitol doesn't step up, where's the fairness in that?
What you have just said is total rubbish. If it were not for Vitol, the company would have collapsed a long time ago. And it, that is to say Vitol, has been extending credit so the company can operate in the way the banks were not prepared to do. So I would respectfully suggest you should withdraw that last question.
You call it rubbish, sir. What part is not true specifically?
that somehow Vitol has obligations that it has not fulfilled. It has gone far beyond its normal obligations, and that should be recognized.
If you're willing to play an active role, if you're confident of all the projections that you're making to the Pakistani banks right now, Sir Alan Duncan, given, frankly speaking, many believe that Hascall management is not capable of performing. I am not saying that. People believe that. How and why should the banks take a risk on your word? Why would you not put your money where instead of your word?
Well, I think the previous management took on a burden of debt, which now we are trying to cope with, and that is what this restructuring is about. So I have come in as chairman, reformed the board, changed the management, got a new CEO, introduced high standards, and the banks, of course, lent money. We are coping with the cost of servicing that debt, but we're now trying to restructure it, and that is what I think will happen over the next few weeks. That is a good thing. It's putting the company back on a proper path, and that ambition that we have for the company, I hope, will be fulfilled. I've no doubt there will be lots of questions over time about what the previous management did or did not do, but I would like, through your program, to make it clear that the current management is absolutely doing its utmost to turn this company around and make a success of it in the future. And I very much hope that perhaps sometime next year, I'll be able to come back on your program and I'll be able to point to us having succeeded in that ambition.
I hope so. I wish you the best of luck. Sir Alan Duncan, thank you very much indeed for your time. That's it for tonight. Good night. Allah Hafiz.